Coach, I wasn't at the scrimmage the other day, but I was watching media day, and I took note that Coach Lieberman is a pretty intense fellow who provided a lot of hands-on instructions. And just your observations of, I know you liked what you saw from him in high school, and I'm assuming he's meeting your expectations. Is he exceeding them in any way?
You know, he's definitely meeting them without question. It's when I said we're going to play more man-to-man defense and change up, I wanted somebody obviously who's a very good teacher. High school coaches are always the best teachers. You know, and you know, a lot of people are. Tim Fuller's sort of like he's going to be living on the road, and Mark's not going to be the recruiter in this group. But Stevie Mass has already done a phenomenal job for us recruiting-wise with this class coming in. And those two guys are going to really take the bull by the horns in terms of that. And I'm working on the offensive end right now and making sure that we can play this style. And Mark is bringing something in that's a little bit different. So this staff is very different than any staff I've had, and he certainly is doing a terrific job. His enthusiasm is infectious.
Is he as active and intense in practice? Is that, I mean, we don't see that many practices, but is that over and above what you've had from other assistant coaches?
Stevie Mass is that way too. He's very much that way. You know, it's and Tim's again just feeling his way into the coaching world, so to speak. He's the thing that impresses me most about Tim is, I may have told you this before with Stu Jackson. Did I tell you the story last week with Stu Jackson? No, did I mention it? Stu Jackson I hired in 1987. And I was concerned a little bit because he was working for IBM and hiring somebody from the corporate world who was in basketball. I didn't know if I could get away with that in my mind. Well, anyway, I hired him, and he was absolutely great because he was so much more organized than the typical assistant basketball coach because he worked in the corporate world, and everything about him was so highly organized from a recruiting standpoint and from a technical standpoint. Well, that was 1985. Now, come back throughout these years, same scenario with Tim Fuller. He started out with basketball, you know, assistant coach at Fairfield and Miami and so on, and now he's in the corporate world working for Nike. He's so incredibly organized and so structured, his organization, much more than an assistant basketball coach would be. That corporate background is a big-time plus. And he's bringing that to the table. And, you know, you won't see you won't get the dividends right away with Tim because he's going to get his contacts and build. But down the road, recruiting-wise, you're going to see huge dividends from him.
Is it different staff because you kind of specialize, or what's different about this staff?
We just put this staff together just in terms of recruiting. You know, I told Steve's been going at this a long time. I said, Steve, don't worry about the coaching aspect of it because he's the chief scout. He's the chief scout with me. I said, you and Tim just live on the road and just go after freshmen, sophomores, juniors, you know, see everybody, evaluate properly and so on. But Steve, once the season starts, he'll have a tougher job because he's the director of scouting. He'll scout 80% of the opponents. And Tim will be on the road. So, you know, Steve's the scout. You know, Mark and Tim don't have that type of background that he has. Because our scouting is extremely difficult, and for someone first coming in, it's almost impossible for them to do it.
Coach, I know you can't name names. Are you all still, any other than the players who have announced that they're going to come here,
right,
are you all recruiting any players still
we are.
From this upcoming class?
We are. You'll see somebody very shortly come in. If you don't already know about it, I'm sure you already do.
You come in for a visit.
At least Jody Demling knows a call.
But nobody already this year's team. You're talking about next year's team.
No, this year.
This year's team.
No, this year, no.
Okay, yeah.
That's against NCAA rules.
Okay.
That's over.
Can you expand a little bit defensively on what we'll be seeing this year from the Cardinals, or?
Well, it all depends on who you play, and that's, you know, we've had a good run against Syracuse because we played a lot of zone and nobody plays Syracuse zone basically, and we're going to change a lot by who we're playing. but we'll play much more man-to-man than we've ever played, but we'll mix up our defenses. You'll see a lot of different defenses. You'll see a lot of switching. You'll see a lot of changing from zone to man, man to zone. You'll see full court pressure. Anything to not only confuse the opponent, but create steals, pick up the pressure, pick up the momentum defensively to lead to offense. Anything to speed up the game. But it will vary according to who you play. Now, I can't say, I know nothing about Northern Kentucky. Nothing. We don't have any film, we don't have any. We have a roster with statistics. So we know what you know. That's it. So we're sort of going cold turkey. We'll know more about Kentucky Wesleyan in November.
Is it typical for these exhibitions, or is this the first time that you don't really have any kind of...
No, we just, they changed. Last year they played 4 out, 1 in because they had a big man. This year they're going to be more perimeter oriented. But you get no information on the Division II team.
I'm sorry.
You have a question, Kenny? No. We don't see Kenny too much anymore. He's been hanging out the arena at the White Room. No, vodka room, excuse me.
Now, Ralph is supposed to be evaluating the coaches.
Yeah.
Did he have any tips after that scrimmage?
You know, well, Ralph is really is invaluable because he sits there, takes notes the entire practice. And he'll meet the next morning and say, okay, this is what's not going well. You know, we're so intense and so wrapped up in practice that until we watch the film, we don't really know what's going well, not going well, because we're trying to teach screening, we're trying to teach using screens and so on, so we're just zoned into that, where he looks at the whole thing and gives us a report on practice the next day, and he'll say to Mark, you know, I don't like the way you're teaching that switch, and it's not working properly, and it's great having you here.
Coach, I was just going to ask if you could talk about Terrence Jennings just a bit. Change of role for him, do you think that that'll be fun for him? It'll help him move on to be in a different spot?
More of a major player, minutes-wise and so on.
Right.
Yeah, TJ has the opportunity. He can either be an NBA prospect or he could play overseas, depending on how he understands what the pros would want. You know, it's in other words, he's a terrific college player and he wants us to win and everything, but if he becomes a runner, a rebounder, and shot blocker, great defensive player, he'll have a chance of playing at the next level. If he wants to show everybody he has a good jump shot, he'll be playing in Yugoslavia.
You said he practiced, I think last year before this, you said he'd spent the summer practicing three-pointers.
Yeah, and this summer he had a normal summer where he wasn't, on Kenny's alcohol. He was I'm only kidding. That's a joke now. He really got common sense to his game. No, he has to understand what he does, and so many players don't make it because they don't understand their role at a certain level. If he gets what he's supposed to do, like Gorky is the strange thing you're going to see about Gorky. If you've watched players who've come over from Africa, you see a more rigid style, a more straight up and down style. You see a straight up and down basketball player. You don't see a lot of finesse to their game. You only know Mohamed Lessager, probably the most recognizable thing to you, but he's nothing like that. Gorky has a very good touch. Gorky is a very good passer. He's different. He's really different. But he's got gigantic hands, gigantic wingspan, but a very good touch. And it's all of a sudden he'll be making a move, and then you'll just see his hand go over the rim. It doesn't look like he's jumping at all, and he's not jumping. That's the interesting thing about it. He's only this high off the ground, but he's dunking the ball. So he's different, and he's going to. Gorky obviously is going to go like this, and he's going to take off. But he's right now the basketball terminology and all of this is not something he's used to, and he's got to get used to that. But TJ's going to, the good thing about TJ now is Gorky. It's been easy for him going over George Good and going over Stephen Van Treese. It's no longer easy for him. So he'll have a swatter behind looking to block the shot now, and he'll have to make good offensive moves and good post moves to get a shot off.
Will Gorky see time on Sunday? Or?
I don't think so. Maybe 35 minutes. No, he'll play, he'll back up TJ, and I would say he'll play 15, 18 minutes.
Gord, do you have a soccer background at all? And a lot of players.
He does. He does. He's a fun young man. You know, it's some of his mannerisms are different for us, a little different. Like Fred Hina said to him, he said, "Gorky, you know, shower up, get in here, we'll give you treatments." And he said, "No, I eat first." And "No, Gorky, you don't eat first." "No, I eat first." You got to get used to obeying orders.
Give me a minute.